Recording in progress.
And to you, you know who you are. I want to say thank you. It meant a lot to me to know that there's people that really truly care. And so with that, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak?
Hi, Jonathan Rodier. I've been wanting to talk about this issue for quite a while, but I was coming down the road and ran into my kid and his friends, and these are the Red Bulls and these energy drinks, which they're selling to kids. Okay, I would love to see an ordinance made 18 and younger that they can't purchase these because they had a bag full of them. Kids hang out at my house, and so I would regulate as I can. But one of the little kids about this big and they'll drink these things every single day, said he had to have some 40-year-old guy buy it for him outside Dollar General, but I went and asked. That's basically it. On here it says, not recommended for children, pregnant, nursing women, and people sensitive to caffeine. So if you look at the ingredients, there's all kinds of nasty stuff in there too. So I don't know, maybe we can get that put on there and have an ordinance for it. That's it.
Thank you. There anyone?
Do I need to come up there?
If
Can I
you,
speak from right here?
if you can please come up here, it would be appreciated.
Only got two more stand ups and sit downs before that. But okay, I'll come on. Bravo, man.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm sure glad you do. One thing I appreciate is this, the law enforcement. We pay for police and they see that for the bike rodeo. Officer had a bike pulled over. Now, my word, that is great. Because I just, it upsets me because we put all these things in for bicycles to ride on. But they don't go down, they don't follow the rules of the road. And the young man over here just said something about the Gatorade or whatever the drink. That starts at home. We don't need to have an ordinance about this stuff. We just need to have people do what they're supposed to do. Just like the guy up the street with all the garbage that's laying on the road that's been there for like ever, and 3 or 4 times that they've come down there and picked it up. Now, I don't need to pick it up, but I pay for it to have it picked up. I could go on up here all day and I shouldn't be here.
Oh, you.
Have a nice evening.
Could you please, tell us your name?
No,
No? Okay, well,
Fourth Amendment rights, I don't have to tell you.
I wasn't gonna throw anything at you if you didn't. I just thought I was gonna ask you if you would, but if, you gotta do what you gotta
I'm
do.
a good citizen. I've been in this town for, yeah.
Okay, well, thank you for, coming up and speaking your piece. We appreciate it.
I like to say a lot more, but.
Yeah, we have 2 minutes left.
Well, not only that, because when I get agitated, my vocabulary runs out.
Okay, I got you.
I don't need that.
Okay, well, thank you for coming.
Well, thank you, Mr. Law Enforcement Officer, for keeping up on these bikes, and I will not yield to somebody on a bicycle on the sidewalk.
Okay.
I will push them off of there.
Okay.
I'll be the one with the guy standing on the sidewalk and the bicycle in the street.
Thank you very much.
No, thank you.
Absolutely. Are there any emails or text that were done? Hand raised rather? Hand raised. Would you?
I don't need just the last 4 of the phone number 4474 and they would be talking to themselves.
Okay. 4474, would you please unmute yourself, state your name, and then go ahead and say what you need to say, please.
Star 6.
Oh, star 6 to unmute. Okay, person with the phone number last 4474?
4474.
Please star 6, unmute yourself and identify your name and then go ahead and speak.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, this is Wesley. I'm representing the company Porsche, and I have an agenda item.
What's your name?
Wesley.
Wesley.
My name is Wesley.
Dang, I think he's a little bit ahead of me.
These for the presentation. Okay. I think you're addressing something, you are addressing something that's on the agenda. So you, should wait until that agenda item is, brought up.
No problem.
Okay, thank you. Any other hands raised? Okay. Then we will close public presentation and move on to the consent calendar. Are there any items that need to be removed from the consent calendar? I'll pull item 1. And if there are no other items pulled from the consent calendar, is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved.
We have a motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second, please vote. Okay. Motion carries 5-0. Item number 1, I just, I can't abstain from one thing and not all of them, so I was just, I pulled it because I wasn't here. Is there a motion to approve item number 1?
I will make that motion.
We have a motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second, please vote, and I abstained, I don't know why I did. So the motion carries 4 yes and 1 abstention. Okay. Reports and staff communications, page 52 in our packets. City manager.
Thank you, Mayor Barnes, members of the council. So just FYI, you see a little bit of construction work on the front porch area and electrical vehicles over at the police department. We do have a contractor here doing some minor fixes to some lighting outlets in the police department, and then also replacing the current fixtures that are out on the underhang here. Basically, they're just aged, and the bulbs that are in that specific outlets, they are no longer manufactured. So hopefully that'll be completed by Saturday, by the end of the day on Saturday. And then we also had a street sweeping also occurred on this last Saturday, which was a little bit of an unusual time for us to do that. Overall, we had to secure a different street sweeping vendor this go around, and I think they did a pretty good job. And we'll see and, make an evaluation as to whether we want to continue to utilize the service. It's kind of based on their availability because they're an outfit from out of Humboldt County. And so when they're on contract for, say, Caltrans or another agency, it's fairly affordable to bring them in to do it. Otherwise, it's, to try to get it scheduled on specific dates would be very expensive. So, because we'd have to pay for all the mobilization. With that, there's also a letter that should have been on every person's desk, or each council member's desk. You may recall Councilmember Wilson requested that we asked PG&E to put their commitments in writing. Yeah, surprisingly, they did write back. The letter is not a surprise. It includes much of the information that they've already stated verbally. And there's really kind of no drill down on the detail. But we are pleased that PG&E did write the letter here to the council. With that, I will go ahead and return to the council to see if there's any questions or comments to staff.
Thank you, city manager. Mayor Pro Tem.
No question. Thank you, everyone.
Councilmember Orr.
No question.
Councilmember Woodall. On the consent calendar.
Or on the staff.
Yeah, I'm sorry, yes, on the staff.
I was just gonna ask if, up by the bulletin board, up down, there's a lot of, that gray box that sits there, there's a lot of junk behind it, and I didn't want to forget that because it's something I wanted to forget. I was wondering if maybe we could get that removed. Thank you. No other question.
Thank you, Councilmember Wilson. Right. And I have no questions, so we will, anyone in the audience have any questions on the staff report? Any hands raised? Any hands raised? Any? Any emails or hand raised? No? Okay. Then we will move on to special presentations. Letter of support for the U.S. Department of Energy grant application for solar batteries project. Page 57 in our packets. City manager.
Thank you, Mayor Garnes, members of the council. I'll go ahead and introduce Bob Wiener.
Yeah, good evening. My name is Bob Wiener. I live in Humboldt County since '74. I'm here representing a group of investors and entrepreneurs from the Bay Area. Our team consists of Wesley Zhang. He is the owner of Posh Batteries and Posh Electric. They're online. It's in the presentation, the contact information. Also, James White, PhD. He's our mechanical engineer. He's currently on his way to Spain. He's reviewing a couple projects over there. Considering recycled plastic to hydrogen. So we have a few other projects in mind. But today we come before you to talk about a project up in the business park, Rio Dell Business Park, which I'm pretty familiar with. I know all the cannabis growers up there. I've been in the cannabis business myself, but we all know what happened with that. So I saw an opportunity possibly in the business park to try to alleviate some of the issues with electric resiliency, and which it seems to be there is none available up there at the moment. Possibly next year is what they're saying. Who knows? So as we all know, the power grid is going through a transformation as states and utilities strive to achieve clean energy goals. California grid has faced an array of formidable challenges over the past few years. Summer electric shortages, wildfires, earthquakes, escalating electricity rates, and clean resource deployment delays have left California scrambling for solutions. The grid operators, state officials, and utilities have implemented a range of stopgap measures to bolster the grid's reliability, but many of these measures come with significant drawbacks, such as increased reliance on insufficient gas plants and highly polluting diesel backup generators. We at Posh Electric hope to change that for Rio Dell in achieving its goal of grid resiliency and its commitment to climate action plan. We can start the PowerPoint. Hopefully Wesley, we called in earlier, can narrate the PowerPoint, but if not, I could do that too. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention we also are employing GHD as our engineer, local engineer. I think you're all familiar with that. So I don't know if Wesley is there. See, we have to.
I'm here. If you need me to present, I'm happy to talk through the slide.
Okay, go right ahead. We're on slide. Go ahead.
Okay, so because I'm dialing in, I won't be able to see the slide, so I'll just call out the slide number, and then I will just talk through the slide if that is okay. For everyone. Perfect. Right. So good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Wesley Zhang. It's a great pleasure to share with you all our proposed project for a solar farm in the city of Rio Dell. We'll go to the second slide. We have been acutely aware of the challenges in getting enough electrical power to the city of Rio Dell, and I read one of the letters from the mayor to PG&E last year about the lack of distribution to the city, and also its impact on the economic development here. Fortunately, the bipartisan infrastructure law has authorized DOE to invest up to $1 billion in energy improvement in rural and remote areas. And early this year, or actually in May, the DOE just announced $50 million federal funding to support small community-driven clean energy project with up to $5 million funding per project. And one of the requirements is that the community need to be less than 10,000 people, which I believe the city of Rio Dell see the bills. And after talking to Robert Wiener, who just presented, he has been a local resident in the Humboldt County for more than 30 years. And we spent as a team a couple of days in the Humboldt County touring around the region. And we finalized on the project for a solar plus battery system in the city of Rio Dell to provide 100% renewable electricity to the community. Slide 3, please. So we identified an area that potentially can be interesting for this project in the Rio Dell Business Park as a potential site. And after talking to the landowner and the realtor, Dan, about the properties, we think it could be a potentially viable project. We also have talked to Jordan Keane from GSD, which is a very strong global engineering firm with local presence in the Humboldt County to co-develop the project. Slide 4, please. So right now we are looking at a tentative project with nameplate capacity of 1 megawatt solar with 2 megawatt hour battery storage to provide load shifting and energy resiliency. And this will enable up to 200 homes and perhaps a few business entities in either cannabis business or some other area to be able to get the power day and night. Next slide, please.
Can you hold on 1 second? Wesley, I wanted to make a correction on that one slide. The picture that's shown shows the full 17 acres of the Frank property.
Oh,
we
yeah.
reduced it down to 8 acres. So that slide is kind of not representative. It'll be, about half that size. So that was on the suggestion of Kevin Cogswell and the city manager, him speaking with the city manager, his project looked a little bit too big. So we've reduced it down.
To the back.
Yeah.
Yes. Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah, I said that if you go to the next slide, I labeled that it's not to scale. So it's just a representation. We are actually looking at probably around 8 acres of land and not the entire surface covered by the solar panels here. This is just a rendering we did to show what potentially it might look like. Next slide, please.
And Wesley, I wanted to add something also. It's utilizing that land, first of all, it's some parts are up to 9 foot that they have to put in fill. Using pole raised power, solar mounted, pole mounted would eliminate the need for that because we would be out of the flood zone technically. There's different formulations on how to do that. And these guys are going to be moving that forward. And one of the parcels that we're going to be using is the person's name is Heidi Schneider, I think, and that is still considered a brownfield, which we might be able to utilize it as usable property where it is pretty much unusable right at the moment. So I just wanted to add that also. Go ahead, Wes.
Without remediating the brownfield, you'd still be able to use it?
The bottom line would be we might have to cap it. There's debate on they're getting, the Schneiders are getting more reports as we speak, so this project's just in communications right now and, trying to get it all figured out. And basically we need your support also. That's why we're here, to even move forward. 2 more steps. Okay, go ahead, Les. All
right. Thanks, Bobby. So we are in the process of drafting the proposal and preparing for the submission. And as part of the funding requirement, we want to get support from the local community and the city council. The pre-application deadline is in second week of July. I don't know whether it will be enough time for like a letter, but if not, any form of support will be appreciated. And of course, we want to make sure that the community can rally around this project to help make this project a success. And we want to make sure that we can really bring benefit both in terms of providing electricity or building houses or increasing tax revenue to the city of Rio Dell. Next slide, please. So just a brief summary of the team. So again, Posh, as mentioned, is a California-based.
There he is. There he is. He's back. Okay, you're back. Sorry.
Sorry, can you hear me? Yeah, can you go to the team slide, please? Are we on the team slide?
Yeah, I think so. The funding source is
So Posh, again, as mentioned, is a California-based renewable energy company focused on battery storage and solar projects as well. GHD has a strong presence in Humboldt County with a lot of engineers actually sitting in Eureka. And the funding we are looking at is from DOE. It'll provide up to $5 million per project. Currently, we are in the process of preparing a grant submission. So we believe we have a very strong and competent team here, and we hope to get a blessing of the city council and the local community to bring this project forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
okay. Just in conclusion, we're keenly aware that there are many milestones to overcome, but this presentation and request for letter of support will allow us to apply for grant funding to get this project started. So that's basically all I meant.
Thank you. Can you answer some questions if there are any?
If I can, they're the experts. I wanted to see Rio Dell's business park happen. So that's how this all came about.
Okay, Councilmember Wilson.
Yes, who, is this something that you're gonna manage you're gonna put up a solar array and then you're gonna produce power and then put it in the battery storage, or are you gonna manage this grid, the microgrid?
Well, we're in talks with both PG&E, and we will be managing it. Our team will manage the facility, but it goes into the grid, and then there's RCEH or RCEA. We've made contact with them also, and they right now they have to actually ask for projects anything over I think it was a half a megawatt. Otherwise you can solicit to them, but there is a need, and these are some of the milestones that we're working on right now, you know, as far as being able to sell it to the grid, you know, as a renewable energy, which comes part of the Humboldt County Climate Action.
Yeah. And I want to add to Bobby's point. Sorry, can you hear me? Yeah, I want to add to Bobby's point that California has a mandate that any solar project or renewable projects under 3 megawatt PG&E, we can sell to PG&E under the renewable energy feed-in tariff, and there's a fixed rate that we can negotiate, and every year there's opening, and right now there's actually a lot of capacity remaining. As long as we can make sure that we can have interconnection, which we have on the Rio Dell on the brownfield in the Rio Dell Business Park, because there's a pole there that we can connect directly into the grid. So I think we definitely be able to sell electricity or feedback electricity to the grid and supply to the local community if we get the project up and running. Over.
Yeah. Sorry.
I'd like to talk, but she's still in.
No, he's done, I think.
So are you looking to do like, Humboldt County's already put in a microgrid up at the airport, you're familiar with that?
Yes.
Yeah,
Anyway.
is that what you're trying to do, is something to that degree that it runs, when it runs the solar, that it puts power into the grid and you store energy in the batteries that goes into the grid? Is it an isolatable, like a two-way, one line grid, that in the event of a power failure, it will supply power to the business park, or will it just only be functional when the grid is up and running?
Wesley, can you answer that?
Right, I didn't quite hear the question.
What he
Bobby,
wants to know is if our grid power goes out because of an earthquake or fire or something like that, how resilient will our system, will our system be able to kick in to provide Rio Dell with assistance in power when absolutely needed? You know, is there a mechanism for that, I guess is the word I'm assuming.
Yeah, so I think the benefit of adding the battery to the solar is that we can be very flexible, because even in the case of, let's say, like fire or earthquake, which the city of Rio Dell just experienced not too long ago, we can be independent, because the batteries can by itself can provide enough electricity to a couple hundred homes for a day or two before the grid got restored. So I think the benefit of adding the batteries is really to provide the flexibility and resiliency, and also reduce the demand charge, because some of the business, they actually consume a lot of power, and by using the batteries, we can shift the energy load from the grid and help reduce the demand charge. So I think that's what we are trying to get to, is combine the batteries and the solar to provide the flexibility of when and depends on the rate, when to use the electricity from the grid, and when to use the electricity from the battery pack. Does that answer the question?
No. What I'm trying to get to is to my understanding, to just place a power source on the grid and you're going to advance that to 150, 200 houses, that's not how the grid works, and you know that. And so what I'm asking is the purpose of your enterprise to have a producing a power source that you sell through some kind of power purchase agreement to somebody, whether it's RCEA or PG&E, that you're selling somebody power, and then you're paying for the management of that grid that's out there, the solar panels and the electronics to do all of this. You're the ones taking care of that, not the city of Rio Dell. Who's taking care of the grid that you're building?
It would be us.
Yes, and then you would sell.
And I'm sure that Wesley would confirm that. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Then you would produce the power and sell the power into the grid, and that's where your profit. That's where you make your money. You're producing power and selling it into the grid.
Yes, sir.
And then we're consuming from the grid.
Yes.
At the city of Rio Dell.
Yes, sir. But it would, you know, I'm not sure how the rates are with RCEA. But they also need to be able to purchase renewable energy to provide, the cities with renewable energy to become part of the climate. What do we call it?
Climate action plan.
Yeah, the climate action plan.
Well, I have a pretty good understanding of RCEA.
Okay.
I've been on the board for
Okay, good.
But there's a lot to one of these grids or power sources bringing power into the grid and managing it so that it's taken care of
Right.
efficiently.
Well, then what we have done is made our initial contact with RCEA. We're waiting for some feedback from them as far as that we're also waiting for feedback from PG&E because, as you know, they're hard to get a hold of. They don't like to talk to the public generally. So we're trying to get that figured out, but the reason for the push right now is this grant funding, and it's not written in gold. It's just it's an exploratory to answer all of your questions to get our ducks in a row, but we kind of even go any further to even answer some of these questions. We would need some sort of support letter from the city of Rio Dell, just to, however you would like to word it, so we can do this, try to move forward with the project.
Are you gonna be around after the meeting?
Sure. Yes, sir.
I'll talk to you.
And, yes.
I mean, I've got a lot of questions, but I won't.
Yeah.
Council.
Great.
Councilmember Woodall?
Oh, how many jobs would it create?
Wesley, do you know that?
Yeah, so we are providing electricity for the business park. So we actually are going to bring the business back to places that previously couldn't get up and running without the power. So the solar project itself will require probably 1 to 2 years of construction. We are looking at probably 10 to 20 people, and we have to pay prevailing wage, and maybe a small team on the ground for maintenance. But I think the bigger picture is that what this additional electricity can bring to the city in terms of housing, business activities. So I think that is where the main benefit of this is. The solar farm itself is not a big employer. But I think the benefit of having enough electricity to bring back some of those businesses that previously back out because of lack of power will be the biggest benefit from this development.
Which would include the taxes and also the employees that work at these businesses. So.
I've got the other two questions already answered. They have been answered.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you. I was gonna ask the same thing that Frank did, is just this benefit directly the city of Rio Dell? Like, do we get the power, or does it just go back to the? We've had companies come in before and say, we want to do renewable wind energy. We're going to slap a bunch of windmills up here on your skyline, but you're not going to get any of the power. It's going to go back. And we're not going to hire.
You got the same problem with mill, don't you?
Well, I'm just saying, I think the reason we're asking about the power and how many jobs it's going to create is because we've kind of been down this road before. So that's
okay.
why.
Well, I can assure you that our main goal is to make sure that Rio Dell is included completely in this. That's where I personally started when I called my PhD friends in the Bay Area. So, go ahead, Wesley.
Yeah, just to add to that point, as part of the funding, we need to show that the electricity produced benefit the local communities. So it's not like we are going to produce electricity and ship it somewhere else, right? So as part of the project, as part of the funding, we have to prove and demonstrate that the electricity produced locally will benefit the local communities. And that's why we want to work with the city and figure out the best way to get electricity to the local community.
Okay. And if we're going to create jobs, would you hire locally, or would it be people from the Bay Area who came here?
Well, first of all, we would go to the unions because we would need that type of support. There's a pretty good union support here in Humboldt County. I did go to the Go Power seminar, and they were represented thoroughly, and I've got most of their connections to work with them, and because it does take skilled labor to do these things. So But yes, we definitely would be utilizing local as much as we can, which is possible.
Are you local?
I've lived in Humboldt County since 1974 when I got out of the service.
Electric and local?
No, they're down, and Wesley can tell you, he's the owner of the company. They're down in the Bay Area. I know he started with recycling lithium batteries, as one of their main projects to make the full cycle, the batteries, fully recyclable, which previously they hadn't been thinking about that. And Wesley also makes robots that actually help in that process because some of the chemicals are not good for humans. So they kind of, have a hybrid type of situation there where they're making the batteries from mainly recyclable. But he would know more. He could tell you more.
Yeah, we're in the Bay Area, and we have been making that. Can you hear me? We have presence in Hayward, California, and we've been making batteries for off-grid and solar storage. We have a team of engineers that have designed, develop, and make batteries in-house. And we are partnering with GHD, which is a strong engineering construction company to help with the implementation. We'll definitely, again, that's part of the requirement as well, is to hire local, work with the union, pay prevailing wage, so that we can bring the maximum benefit to the local community.
I'm sorry, we're really giving it to you here.
That's okay. That's why I'm here.
I think where I'm at is I'm trying to but consider, all the myriad potential uses of that parcel of land, because it is one of our only, commercial areas left. And what would be the most beneficial to the city and the citizens of this city? So that's why I'm asking these questions. And we do have a history of people coming in and swearing renewable energy, and it really doesn't benefit the city or the citizens. And I guess that's not a question, that's more of a statement. So I think I'm done.
Councilmember Orr.
Yeah, a couple questions. First, I think I'm missing the part where it helps Rio Dell. I see that you're making power, and I'm all for renewable energy, but you're making power to sell back to us. And you say you're helping the business part come to fruition, but we already have a commitment from PG&E to get the electricity that they need there to sell to us. So I'm missing how taking up space with renewable energy, and you're taking up space that in a commercial area where we could put more businesses is actually helping beyond the 20 jobs that may or may not come from the area to construct it, and the small team that has to manage and maintain it. So how does Rio Dell benefit from giving up that parcel of land?
Wesley?
Maybe I can answer the question. Yeah, I can answer the question. So I think the feed-in tariff to PG&E is just one option. I think the benefit of producing solar and batteries locally is that we actually don't have to, if we don't want to fit into the grid. We can supply electricity to the business park through a microgrid, right? So let's say if there are 5 or 6 businesses that will be able to consume the electricity and take the electricity, we can directly sell the electricity to the business without selling back to the PG&E and then back again. And that's usually called like the microgrid setup. So I just want to make sure that the PG&E part doesn't derail the conversation. It's not like we are trying to use an expensive piece of land to make a profit from PG&E. I think because this project will be funded by DOE, and there is a stringent requirement on how such projects can benefit local communities. Without a proof to show that, we won't even get the funding in the first place. So rest assured, our goal is not to bypass Rio Dell and try to use the land to sell electricity to PG&E to make a profit. We will be scrutinized by the federal funding agency first and foremost to prove how these projects can benefit local community in the first place. So again, back to your question, we can do like microgrid. Again, we are in the early phase of the study in terms of interconnection and how we can channel the electricity to either the business or the local community in terms of the residents and all that. But I think the overarching objective here is loud and clear to figure out how to use the renewable project to serve the local community instead of PG&E.
Still not answering my question. We're giving up 8 acres of land that we could put businesses on to generate tax revenue to the city to put solar panels. And I get that you're not going to sell it to PG&E for a profit, but you're going to sell it to the business park for a profit. That's still profit or an area that PG&E can supply, and we don't have to give up 8 acres, and we can put more businesses in there to generate more dollars for Rio Dell. So I don't see how this does anything but help Posh and GHD and all. It doesn't generate money for Rio Dell.
So my understanding is that business had not been able to set up there, and that's why it's been empty for many years because of PG&E's inaction, and that's clearly written in Deborah's letter to California Public Utility Commission last year, that the inaction of PG&E has affected many of the projects, resulted in many of the business pulling out, and likewise some of the development. So I think the compromise we have to look at here is that whether we should wait until PG&E do something, which there's no definite timeline, or we go forward with renewable solar projects with imminent funding, imminent implementation, so that we can get business back to the business park and get real tax revenue, right? Again, that's a compromise we need to look at, and if there is a clear benefit, I think definitely something that the city should consider.
Okay, but we have a pretty firm commitment from PG&E to have power to that business park within 18 months.
And from my side of the picture, I've been working with most of the people, with Sean Studebaker and all that, and I know the issues that were there, and it just recently PG&E had made this commitment, and as of today, I guess they sent another letter reinstating it. But up until a few months ago, there was no commitment, and that was when this idea was conceived. Mm-hmm. So we were basically, we started out trying to help the business park to be able to come to fruition, you know, because there wasn't any power. And, you know, I've spoken to, you know, Mr. Mossman and Alec Mossman, and he says that power's coming, but I've heard that since 2018, I think. Right. You know, that's what he would, you know, they've said, but, you know, but they also need to have, you know, a certain amount of resiliency and, you know, renewables also. So, and the big scheme of things, it kind of would, although it's taking away to 8 acres, it's 8 acres that's the previous owner doesn't really want to do any of the improvements on it either, you know, to make that property viable. So as an alternative, we can make it a viable property. We'll be getting taxes from, I'm assuming you would be getting taxes from that property also. There's, you know, and also increased taxes from the other parcels that are, you know, that aren't being utilized now. I know there's some permits that have already been approved, but they've been waiting, you know, Alex Moore and a few of those other people. So it was more of a gesture to help these people get their businesses up and rolling, and because I know that Rio Dell was depending upon that income also. So that's how I got involved.
All right, thank you.
And, yeah, oh, okay. Julie, I agree with Councilman Moore. I think that, I don't understand where this is gonna benefit us as much as, other businesses coming in. And, I won't be able to vote for the letter because there's a lot I don't understand. Some of it was very hard to understand tonight. And, so I won't be voting to.
Okay. Yeah. Joel, that's why we came here to see if we needed to go further with the project at all, you know, because it's already cost us a lot of money and we're pursuing it, but we needed to get your approval, and that's why we're here. So, you know, I appreciate that. And the only other thing I can suggest, if you wanted any more corrections, maybe we should do some more communication and we can clarify some of the issues that you have, you know, but we're kind of on that timeline also, so.
Councilmember Wilson?
So the company that's actually proposing to do this is Bosch Electric,
Yes, sir.
and is that the full corporate name is Bosch Electric?
Right at the moment, you know, it's a conglomeration of 3 different engineering firms. Fourth one is with GHD, and they've mainly been involved in battery, and which includes building batteries, but which includes either grid tied to that or solar, and mainly in some of his installations it's been based upon solar, so they have the engineering capacity to do it.
My question is there a corporation, LLC, or whatever called Bosch Electric in existence?
Yes, they have a presence online and everything else also. Yeah, they're.
All right, and then my other question is, you were working with RCEA.
We've spoken to them.
Who have we spoken to there?
Mike Avicoli, I think it was.
Mike Avicoli?
Yeah, that's what we spoke to him. All of us did. The engineers, the 3 of them came up and we did a tour of Eureka. You know, we're also looking at other projects on Smoke Peninsula, much larger projects. But we spoke to them, and he was supposed to get us in touch with Mike Engel, I think it is. His name. Engel.
It was Richard Engel.
Richard Engel, excuse me. I met so many people. It's hard to keep track unless I have it in front of me. But no, we've sent him an introduction letter, but you know, right now he's pretty much hasn't responded back. I do know that RCEA is transitioning into their own kind of entity, you know, besides purchasing renewables. So maybe that's a possibility that there's, you know, that we're seeing as some sort of competition. I don't know. That's just my own opinion. I don't know. So, yeah.
So, has anyone in your developing your plan looked at when you're talking about Rio Dell and benefiting Rio Dell? Have you looked at what taxes or whatever form of remuneration the city would get? You know, as far as doing something financially.
You know, like the gas taxes, how much you.
Have you looked at that kind of?
I've mentioned that, and we have to look at the price structure. And, you know, and that's been on our agenda as, you know, how can we make it a financial benefit to Rio Dell also, because I understand that, but to have come to that conclusion, we haven't gotten to that part yet, but that is definitely in our agenda, so. And
with regard to, because mainly, I mean, you have spoken of 200 to 300 homes, residences, I should say. But mainly you're speaking of the business part. You're talking about powering up the business part.
Well, either or, I mean, we would prefer to be able to have it come to Rio Dell to meet its housing goals that, you know, are mandated by the state also. So that was part of it. How to negotiate through, to weave through all the different entities is something that takes time. We are working with the DOE, and they've given us, I think it's 8 hours of free time to work with them, with their consultants, how to intertwine with the grid and all those other. We've only used 1 hour so far. We have plenty more hours to deal with them.
And you've spoken with whoever owns the property that.
Yes, Mr. Frank, Anthony Frank, he owns part of it, and also Heidi, yeah.
And you would need to know whether, so you need a letter of support. What else would you need from the city? What else would the city be required to do or to commit to or any of that?
Wesley?
The letter is pretty much all we need because, again, part of the grant or funding requirement is that they want to make sure that the project actually benefit local communities. And we want to make sure that our project can really, again, either hire local or generate tax revenue. And we want to have the blessing of the city. And that's pretty much all we need. We will handle all the funding and application and securing the land by working with the landowner and the realtor and all that. So I think some sort of a simple letter say that we are aware of this project, we are supportive. That's pretty much all we need.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you. Is there anyone either one of the three of you have any questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Oh, sure, yes.
So if you have a successful completion of the solar field up there and you attach to the grid, my understanding, I think it's might have been answered, but just for clarification, would add an additional 2 megawatt hours or megawatts.
I think we're down to 1 megawatt because of the size and considerations that we didn't want to pick up the whole property.
Right, and that's kind of our limitation from our transmission lines from the valley and our limitation on actual permits for new construction and development. So this would add an additional megawatt worth of capacity to our local area.
This is correct.
Okay, so I mean, that's where kind of our standstill was about a year ago. We got back to it, but this would provide additional, and then if PG&E follows through, it kind of be like, there's even more.
Okay, and as we know, hopefully Rio Dell and it has room to expand and move forward into the century. I won't be around, but yeah.
That was all.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, that definitely clarifies that. For sure, appreciate that. That helped us. Thank you.
City manager, if I can ask you, we were told that it was a 17-acre situation, but you and Kevin looked at it and didn't think that would be practical. Is there a reason? Just because you wanted more land available for actual, for businesses? Didn't say actual, commercial businesses?
Yeah, and part of the problem with the site is it's going to require for the entire site to be properly developed, a lot of fill material to bring the property up beyond the flood elevation. So that is, a really added expense in terms of developing the property. And so in theory, there could be availability on the front portion for a structure. I think actually Wesley said it well, and that it's a compromise solution potentially. In that we're definitely not going to get exactly what we wanted out of this particular area of the business park. And so, we wanted jobs, permanent living wage jobs at the site. that's the highest and best use of the industrial property. And so having it sit there to generate electricity, well, certainly that's a noble goal and a good one. The compromise is that. Now, that being said, we have gone through a number of different developers at the site for job creating projects, and nothing has really stuck. So this is, ultimately, a call of the city council, and certainly if you need more time and more information, I think they're requesting a letter by July 11th. So there is another regularly scheduled meeting coming up where we could invite Bob back and actually have a fleshed out letter in your packet. There is no letter attached. Allow a little bit of time to digest it. I will say it is principally permitted on the property if they want to move the project forward, but the project is going to be require, a pretty hefty subsidy from the federal government in order to pull it off. So, in my honest opinion, is a little bit of a mixed bag, just because we had such high hopes for that business park. And, is it possible 5 years down the road, it might attract additional different types of development? That is entirely possible. 5 years ago, the place was completely defunct with no activity going on any of the parcels other than illegal activity. So that's my.
I appreciate it. Okay. And my final question, I guess, would be is, like if you're a utility, which kind of you would be a utility, when you're building something, what would be your offset to the city of Rio Dell for building electric microgrid? What would you say? Well, we're gonna, buy a piece of land and put a park, or we're gonna put the something over there, or we're gonna do this or that. What's the offset that the utility would provide to the city?
Wesley, do you have an answer for that? I'm kind of confused with.
Oh, well, I work for a utility, so I actually know it's a thing.
Well, there you go.
It's a thing, but yeah, it's something you can look at, something you can consider. How about that?
Okay.
Okay, that's fair. So are there any hands raised? Are there any emails and no questions?
I mean, I got a couple questions.
Go ahead.
So the current rate is like 40 cents per kilowatt hour here, what they charge us, so would that lower our prices as citizens?
That would hopefully be the goal, but there's some of that is beyond our control, and it's predicated by RCEA and also PG&E and the Public Utilities Commission too. So
It's governed. What takes place in Rio Dell is that PG&E actually physically supplies the power to this. RCEA sells the energy portion of that, and they sell that at 0.5% below what PG&E sells it for. So basically, RCEA is selling it for the same price as PG&E, 0.5% lower, which is for the average homeowner, it's probably about $2 something like that. Is what it's saying. And so, other than anyone else selling the power would have to be sold through PG&E because PG&E owns the transmission lines. And that's the only part that they allow you to sell currently as a separate, without building your own transmission lines, is to sell the generation part for the actual, what you would be producing in your solar energy.
Yeah, and we are working on that. Like I said, I talked to Alex Mossman. I don't know anything.
It's not with PG&E.
Yeah, he's with PG&E. He's the one that everybody's been dealing with. I think for the power in the Rio Dell Business Park. That's what all the communications I've had. And I talked to Alex just last week, and he said that is not his purveyance. He only provides the engineering on hookups, not reversing. But he said he would get back to us on that. And also I have Michelle Bushnell. We're supposed to have a meeting with her on Friday, and she works with that government agency that part of PG&E, and she was going to get us the right person to speak.
So you're meeting with Michelle?
Yes, we've already met once with her.
Your company is H2 Humboldt?
Well, mine is, that was just a name that sorry.
I'm sorry, did I?
No, I was trying to, John was in the middle of actually asking a question.
Sorry.
And answer, so I was just trying to let him finish it. And then
Well, yeah, so I was just wondering that, like, yeah, we lower our costs at all. I know it's difficult to when how the power goes, but and you said you can power apart the businesses over there, so that you guys keep the money from that power generation, if you can like tie directly to that business. You know, again, like I was really all benefit in it too. And then also just based your, research for this when you come back again, maybe, but like with the emergency, the town was down. At the fire department, there was an issue starting the generator over there, and it was an issue. So is there a way to create, I know you can't just say, I'm gonna run down that 1 kilowatt to the whole town, but can you tie in to say City Hall, the fire department, maybe a couple main businesses, just keep it down, yeah. So I know the difficulty of that. And then my other thing too is like, so what is the lifespan of this?
We would mandate it at least a 30-year. Mr. Frank doesn't really want to sell his property. He wants to lease it long term because of tax benefits of some sort. So we wanted to purchase it, but he would much prefer to lease it, and it would be a 30-year lease that we're talking about, because typically the lifespan of the solar panels is approximately 30 years. And as far as the battery replacement, Bosch Electric would be the replacement vendor on that, and that would be our upkeep on that. So I may be speaking out of turn. Is that correct, Wesley?
Yeah, that's correct. Most batteries are more than 20 years. Solar can be between 25, 30 years.
And, I don't know, this is just off the top of my head, and possibly there could be some resiliency that we could install batteries directly at the fire department, at the water department. I know you have a microgrid for your water. I think it's battery backup for about 8 hours or something. 19, yeah. So we could work with Rio Dell in providing, trying to include that in, direct benefits. That all has to be, worked out. That could be actually part of our presentation to the DOE also. So,
any more questions? That's right.
Just, it says Robert Wiener with H2 Humboldt. Is H2 Humboldt you?
that's me. I started off with is, okay, a cannabis business. All the generators that are in Humboldt County, I've never used large generator. The most I've ever used was 7,500 watt. Freaks me out that there's so many generators running cannabis businesses. And I was looking at the alternative, because there is a mandate also in 2.0 in Humboldt County to change the generators from diesel to carbon to either solar, which would reduce the productivity, or come up with alternatives. Now, some people are changing over to propane, which is available around here, but it still has emissions on that. So I was looking at, smaller portable generators, and that was my project. So I got involved with this company. I called my friend, Dr. White. I said, what do you know about hydrogen? He goes, funny you should ask. He says, I started off years ago when I graduated from MIT at Ballard Power, and they're one of the largest hydrogen companies around. So we are still looking at a project changing waste plastic, not recycled plastic, but waste plastic to hydrogen and generating electricity from that also. That's a bigger project than Smart Peninsula. We've talked to Chris and Rob up there at the Harbor District also. So.
We get it, Frank? Okay.
So not that I'm gonna be here in 30 years, but when the 30 years is up, will you have to take them down and out? Or will they just
If
be?
that's part of the, we would prefer if that's the technology of the day, you know, to have it continue on, you know, for the children and grandchildren and such, but, you know, the idea is, you know, to keep it maintained and to actually have it produced as long as it's not that.
I thought you said after 30 years, they were their lifespan.
Well, by that time, well, you would replace them, you know, there would be attrition and replace, so. Hopefully some of the, you know, some of the mounting will have to be replaced, I'm sure, because of rust, who knows, but. So we plan.
Thank you for your presentation. Thank you, Wesley. I can ask the council if you want to bring this back, on the first meeting of July. But it's a receiver file. There is no action going to be taken tonight, but.
Yeah, I think, again, we want to make sure that we even get like some sort of verbal support if possible to make sure that we can move ahead and.
Wesley, thank you very much.
Yes.
There is no action going to be taken tonight, but I'm trying to poll and find out if we want to bring it back on the first meeting of July, which would be the 6th, and which would give time, if so desired, that we could get the letter to you by the 11th, if that is the call of the council. There will be no action taken tonight other than deciding whether or not we're going to address it in 2 weeks. So, but thank you for being here. So that's
Okay.
the 6th of July, because the 4th is a Tuesday. So the ordinance says when it's on a holiday falls on your meeting, you kick it to the Thursday.
What was the 11th?
That's when they will want the letter.
That's what they want about it.
Yes, if we were going to do the letter. So there's any. I don't get it back.
Bring back, but I would like some more. There's a lot of things you have answers.
Yeah, you know, we just appreciate communication on that, and so we can answer them, you know, concisely, because, you know, I mean, some of the things, most of the
Wesley
things
can
I
be here,
personally
that
don't.
would be good.
Yeah, and Wesley will be here, James, like I said, James is on
He's not.
looking at the, this trash to plastic to hydrogen conversions over in Spain, right?
Right.
He's in
Well,
Canada
thank
right
you
now.
very much. We will, thank you very much. Thank you, Wesley. We will, then bring it back and welcome you guys back. See you on the 6th of July.
Perfect, thank you so much, I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
And we will now move on to special call items. Discussion on the city council meeting time, page 65 on our package.
Thank you, Mayor Garnison, to the council. This item is being brought forward by staff, it was initiated by staff. Just kind of discussing the city council's meeting time. As far as I know, we have a start time, one of the latest in the county, that's 6:30. Most of the other cities, Eureka, Arcata, Fortuna start at 6. And so the time is set in the ordinance. And so we wanted to just bring this up to the council to see if there is interest in moving the time up to either 6 or 5:30 start time. Schedules allow for those who are, consideration given to those who are working. So with that, it's about as simple as it gets. It does require an ordinance change that lists the ordinance. So there would need to be a first and second reading in order to change the time here, and then a 30-day waiting period.
Very well. The council, I would love it for 5:30, but I understand that couldn't. But I'm going to go to council member Orr first.
Honestly, 5:30 works for me.
Want to go to Mayor Pro Tem?
I am okay with here earlier. I was gonna vote for 6 just so I can eat dinner, because y'all don't want me in here when I eat dinner. But, if 5:30 works for everybody else, it works for me. I'll be here early with you again.
There you go.
Yeah.
5:30 is fine with me, you know, if you do 6 too, but I thought about it, you know, the 5:30 thing, actually to get out of here, we'll get out earlier. I'm not working anymore, I'm retired, so I don't have a constraints today, so 5:30, or 6.
I went to the two. I went to first because they, they're the ones who are gonna make the right decision.
Would be better for me.
I'm okay with 5:30.
I know, everybody wants sex. Get it done.
Make it 2:30.
Just one other consideration at the time is 5:30. We do occasionally have closed sessions.
Yeah.
And so those closed sessions would then be typically starting at 4:30
Okay.
or
Yes,
or
so,
5 p.m.
Yeah.
So, okay.
thank you. So, 6, everyone good with 6?
6 will work.
Do we need to ask? I mean, I guess if public, you have any? That's like, I want to break. Rich, can you be here at 6? Absolutely. All right, then, sufficient, maybe. Any hand raised or emails?
Yeah.
Anything sad? Okay, so is there a motion to bring back an ordinance to move the city council meetings to 6 o'clock on the first and third Tuesdays of the month?
So moved.
There's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Motion carries 5-0. Ordinances and special resolutions. Introduction and first reading by title only of ordinance number 399.2023, amending ordinance number 335-2015, chapter 13.10, section 241 of the Rio Dell Municipal Code, and adding chapter 13.10, sections 242 through 246, property tax liens for non-payment of delinquent sewer bills for customers that do not subscribe to the water service, and a means of collecting the delinquent charges on the property tax bill. Page 66 in our packets. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor Garnes, members of the county, members of the council. I'll go ahead and turn it over to Travis. And finance go ahead.
Speaking Mayor Garnes, members of the council, city staff is looking to amend ordinance number 335-2015, published as Rio Dell Municipal Code, section 13.10.241, to allow the city to send delinquent sewer charges to the auditor controller to add them to the tax roll as a lien. The proposed ordinance amendment includes references to the Health and Safety Code 5473 through 5473.7. Health and Safety Code 5473 allows the city to send overdue sewer charges to the auditor controller. The inclusion of the amendment by the city would conform to such Health and Safety Code, allowing the city to submit the overdue sewer charges to the auditor controller, so long as the city follows the protocol laid out in the Health and Safety Code, which includes, but is not limited to, preparing a written report, including a description of the parcels receiving the service and the amount of charges for each parcel. The city must give notice and hold a hearing regarding the delinquencies, and also publicly post the report in a local newspaper. For collecting charges on the tax roll, the report will be mailed to each person whom any parcel or parcels of real property are on the report. During the hearing, the city must hear and consider all objections to the written report in the notice. And upon conclusion of the hearing, if the report is adopted by the council, it must be sent to the auditor controller by August 10th to be added to the tax roll as a lien. This item will be returned to council on July 6th for further consideration, approval, and possible adoption. Thank you for your time this evening, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Wilson.
So if I understood this right, we currently have the ability to enact this, but we have one.
We currently do not have the ability to enact this per our city attorney because it's missing section 547.3.7. And that is the process that the city has to go through to actually send it to the auditor controller.
But you just read it.
Correct.
Okay, so that's what we're approving tonight is
It's the first reading, we're going to be changing the ordinance to,
to include that.
yes, sir.
Okay, that answers my question. Okay.
Councilman Moore?
Only question I had, and it's just because I don't know how this works, is this can be used for retroactive payment as well, or is it just from this point forward?
So it'll be everything that has past due. So if anyone's accumulated past due bills, going back to however long it may be, we would send that balance to the auditor controller.
It will become retroactive.
It would essentially take whatever balance was due and we would send it that way.
No questions, makes sense, thank you.
Councilman Woodall, about how many homes do we have right now that this?
That number is evolving and changing all the time. I don't have an exact figure, but I believe it's around 30 or 40.
Okay, and it would be on the tax lien where in 5 years, they would, if they didn't pay, in 5 years, they would have to pay, or it would they'd have to pay it, put it in their taxes, like we do with the nuisance abatement.
I'm not 100% sure on exactly how that would shake down, but essentially it would be assessed on the tax bill so that if the property would go for sale and go through escrow, that would be one of the obligations that would have to be taken care of before the property change hands.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the public?
Yeah, the Benefics houses that are probably have their water shut off at that point already.
Yes, exactly.
And I did the advocate for that these are the people that are probably financially struggling the most, so. I want to make that a public statement,
But next time you have to come up with.
Oh, okay,
Thank you.
Very good.
Yeah.
So in the process of how the city does this, with rentals, how do they, so do you notify the landlord if they have water? That this is gonna be, because they're the one paying the property tax.
Correct.
So is a provision in this so that the landlord gets aware of it, rather like now the tenant is, if they're not paying their water or sewer bill, they get a notice, but the landlord does not receive a notice. At least it doesn't on my place. I've never received it. Like the tenant has, but like the landlord has. And so does this make a provision so that, the landlord doesn't suddenly find out that there's a lien on the property?
Yes, yeah, that's a great question. In the procedures, there's that process the city has to go through, and part of that process is actually sending a written letter or notice to the owner of the parcel in question to let them know, excuse me, that there is a balance and that it will be sent to the auditor controller if they don't pay that bill.
So that's part of it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
And it'll be done before it's actually sent to the auditor, the letter.
Yes, this all has to be done before it's sent to the auditor controller. They have their own checks and balances that they make sure we follow the proper protocol. And then it's sent and it has to be done by August 10th.
Thank you. Any emails? So is there a motion to, approve the first reading and, go on to the second reading of, ordinance number, ordinance number 335, to amending ordinance 335-2015, chapter 13.10, 240, section 241, and adding chapter 13.10, sections 242 through 246, property tax liens for non-payment of delinquent sewer bills.
So,
We have a motion, is there a second? Okay, we have a motion, is a second? Motion carries 5-0. Now on to, council reports. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. We have a nuisance advisory committee meeting tomorrow, that is Wednesday at 3 p.m. here in the council chambers. If anybody's listening, would like to attend. The bike rodeo over this past weekend was a wonderful, wonderful event, and I wish to thank the police department, the fire department, and our community resource center. It was well attended. Far exceeded any expectations. It was a really, really fun event. I saw a lot of children having a really, really good time. And I hope that is something we can do more and just those kinds of things. So thank you all. It was really, really fun. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Woodall.
That was about the only thing I was going to say. It was a wonderful program, and the Resource Center did really well with getting out elements and other stuff for the kids. And they really enjoyed it. Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
Councilmember Wilson.
I have an RCA meeting Thursday. We had HWA, you approved in your,
Consent calendar.
what do you call it? Consent calendar. Some of the verbiage that applies to the 1383, illuminate that is to prove about the MOI. That we call it. We go around
MOU.
MOU, again, for the, how they're gonna pay for some of this, cost of the 1383, so that project is moving ahead, which I made. We learned more. We learned more.
More to follow.
Yeah.
And Councilmember Ford.
I have an HCOG meeting on Thursday. If anybody can make it up there, they're doing a presentation on affordable housing up in Arcata. They're putting or working on a 60-unit affordable housing project that they're hoping would kind of become a blueprint for the rest of the county. Other than that, summer watch for the kids on the street. Please don't push them off. I know they're not supposed to be there, but please don't.
And there's a comment, it's not like you're on HCOG about, but you may have noticed in the news that they brought out some information on the underpass and Indianola, which they said would be done hopefully by the end of 2025. So that's apparently moving ahead, which is a good thing for the community. And, you know why my wife was seriously damaged, injured there on that underpass section of the highway. So it's great that this has finally come to be a reality, which I never thought would ever happen. And so thank you, HR, for your involvement.
And I have a Cal Cities meeting on Friday. And it's nice to be back. I've been missing for a few because life. So yay, I'm back. And everyone have a good rest of your week. Thank you to the police department for and fire department and everyone for the rodeo. It is so an awesome situation. And thank you staff just for being the good staff you are. You guys rock it. Their motion to adjourn. So we have a motion. Is there a second?
Yep.
Okay. I was second here. I don't think, okay. Did you guys have to solve it?